What up, Gromies? Alright, check it out. Hey, yo, what up? The name is NerdGrows. I got the buttery turf flows, the way I make these herbs grow. This one's for all my tent homies and my earth hoes.
Yo.
What
are you doing, man?
What?
Start the podcast.
Alright, so I'm at the grocery store this morning. I'm kind of an early bird, and most days I only have time to run errands or go to the store before work. So I'm picking up a few things, and I'm walking by the deli, and I see this 65-year-old woman, and she is ordering a pound of olive loaf at 7 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, God damn, you are a nasty chick. I love you. Call me. So anyways, I'm all hot and bothered, but we got a show to do, so let's get into it. Alright, so right at the top, I want to apologize for the crackly audio quality last week. I play a lot of Rocksmith, and I usually play the 2014 version, but I found out, I think it's like a year old at this point, but I just found out that they have Rocksmith Plus that you can get through the Ubisoft store. So I installed that. I got like the free trial, because I think it's like monthly now instead of just buying the game. I was having sound card issues with it. Not that my sound card's not good enough, but I run a Focusrite audio interface, and I plug my guitar directly into that. And like, even with the 2014 Rocksmith, I still had to go in and reconfigure the files to set it up for my interface. So I was having problems with that, and I finally got it to the point where Rocksmith was working. But then whenever I would go to record audio for the podcast, it would like get crackly and cut out. Last episode, while I was recording, I would talk until it started to get crackly, and then I would stop, reset my sound card driver, and then keep recording. And you can tell if you listen to last week's episode, like very harsh cuts, usually around when it starts getting crackly. So yeah, sorry about that, but I seem to have got it fixed now. It was the issue with the Visual C++ files. This is a new computer, so I don't have it like super fine-tuned yet, but we're getting there. Sound card seems to be rocking pretty good today, so I think we got it. Next, I want to give a shout out to the podcast Cultivation Conversation. They were really nice and gave me a shout out on their most recent episode. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that my audience has 100% overlap with them right now, so I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know already. If you haven't listened to Cultivation Conversation, they're a great podcast. They do really good in-depth discussions about growing cannabis. There's 3 hosts on it, and alright, so my favorite host, they're like really cute and charming and always brightens my day up. And if you listen to Cultivation Conversation, you already know who I'm talking about. His name is The Real Green Monster, and he's just a goddamn beast all the time. I love him. Nah, seriously though, go listen to them if you aren't already, and thanks for the shout out. And on more podcast news, on this week's episode of Your Average Grow, they had Big Green Guy on, who's a recurring guest on a lot of cannabis cultivation podcasts. But I really, really love this episode enough where I wanted to talk about it for a second. If you aren't familiar with BGG, Big Green Guy, he's a cannabis breeder, and he has a bunch of strains that are very beloved. I got a couple seeds myself that I'm looking to pop after I get some room in the tent. We'll get a But yeah, this episode is really great. They really went into depth on what it takes to be a good cannabis breeder and all the work that goes into creating new strains and testing strains and making sure that they're consistent. And it was really eye-opening. Like, obviously, I knew the basics of how breeding works, like just putting pollen and plants together. I know how sex works, people. I got the talk when I was like 26. It was horrifying. Sorry. But yeah, he puts a lot of work into the strains that he makes, and it was really cool to hear that insider conversation about that. So yeah, that was all the housekeeping I wanted to do this week. Let's talk about my tent for a little bit. My tents now. I got the second tent going. It's a little teaser for you. You know, a little teaser for 45 seconds from now when I tell you. Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is that now that I'm switched over to Build-A-Soil, I used to really like opening my tent because it smelled really good. But now that I have Build-A-Flower on my plants, it's a horrible experience. It smells disgusting. You guys all recommended Build-A-Soil to me, but you didn't tell me that Build-A-Flower smells like a Labrador burp passing through a brick of ramen. Like, goddamn. It used to be like nice, sweet, flowery smelling, and now it's just the feces of like 15 exotic animals. No, it's going well though. So my friend that I grow with, we talk every day, we send pictures back and forth, help support each other through our grows. Me not so much since I'm so new, but he helps me a lot with my grows. We'll say that. But he sent me pictures of plants that he has in like day 20 something. They're like still in veg, they're getting huge. And then I look over at my plants that are on they're in their mid 30s or mid to late 30s in the days. And they're like a foot and a half tall and fully into flower, about to be stacking buds on any second. So that was kind of the proof I needed that I like officially stunted these plants. Since I know they're not going to get much taller, I actually moved them into the 2x2 and I can just let them get fat and finish up in there. So I got the 2x2 is back up and running, has my 2 flowering plants in it. I reset all the conditions to make them happy and everything. And they can just be all fat and sassy they want in the small tent. So now the big tent's open. I am going to participate in your average grows night owl grow along, which the first day you can plant is in 8 days. So I do need to reserve one spot in the big tent for that. But I do have room to pop something else in the meantime. So this morning I popped Rouge and Blue from Night Owl. That's not going to be my grow along, obviously, because that doesn't start for like another week. I have Compton Kool-Aid for that, which I'm really excited for. And then I also started a little bonsai, just a tiny pot I had laying around. A Mephisto tester I got that was Hubba Bubba Kush X Livers. And like I'm at the point in growing where I need really solid genetics from my main plant, so I'm not really trying to, roll the 3-month dice on a tester seed. So I figured bonsai would be a good use for it instead of just, saving it for a year or two down the line when I feel more comfortable growing it. So we'll see how that goes. I have a little like Warhammer. It's technically not Warhammer, it's like a knockoff, don't tell anyone. It's a little samurai, and I kind of want to paint it and then see if I can get the plant to like bud sideways somehow to give it the like bamboo cherry blossom tree, samurai standing in the forest kind of look. I think that'd be cool, like decorate it a little bit. But yeah, that's all that's really going on. Nothing super exciting, just popping 2 new seeds, one regular, one bonsai. Both are completely in builder soil, which I'm really excited for. My 2 flowering plants that are stunted, I'm just leaving them in the small tent so they can just ride out the rest of their life. So our topic for today is going to be the different things you can learn as a cannabis grower and like all the different topics that you can choose to learn about. And I think it's a really fun one. It's a good way to keep your mind organized. But yeah, before we get into that, we got to read an ad. What up to all my horticultural hipsters and green thumb enthusiasts? Are you tired of growing your herbs in the basement like it's a secret society meeting? Intense Tent Systems are the only grow tent that takes your plants from meh to whoa in no time. Our tents come with carefully curated LED lights, but not just any lights. Intense state-of-the-art, mood-boosting, plant-thriving LEDs. Your plants will think they're on a tropical vacation while you're just chilling in your garage. Our tents aren't made with regular canvas. Intense Tent Systems are made with the finest materials reminiscent of the breathable, bulletproof suits of your favorite comic book characters. Sturdy zippers, light-proof fabrics, and reinforced corners, because your plants deserve to be heroes too. Order now and we'll throw in our patented Chill-O-Matic system. It's like air conditioning for your plants, ensuring they stay cool and collected even in the hottest of grow room shenanigans. Why settle for mediocre harvests when you can upgrade to Intense Tent Systems? It's time to stop hiding your green ambitions and start growing with intensity. Order now and let the green revolution begin. Head over to nerdgrows.com/intense to get started. That's nerdgrows.com/INTENTS. Alright, I hope I get paid for that one because they told me to do like the like bro guy voice and I'm really bad at it. So we'll see if they buy more ad spots or not. But yeah, so today I wanted to talk about different aspects that cannabis growers can learn about. There's so much intricacy to growing cannabis, and each level of learning or each topic that you can learn about can take a whole lifetime to master. And as cannabis growers, we're expected to know at least a little bit from all of these different areas. So just to make sure you have your bases covered, or if there are areas where you might want to research more, I'm just going to run down the list and just tell you different things that you can learn about to improve your cannabis grows. So the first area is genetics. That's the quality of your seeds, where your seeds are coming from, the different types of seeds that are available. You have indica strains, sativa, hybrid, you have high CBD strains, and you have, tested strains, untested strains, and every single level of that in between. And you don't need to be a master at breeding to understand how these genetics works, but it's really important to make sure you're informed on what exactly you're putting in the soil and what options you have available for doing so. The second is growing mediums, and there are a lot of different mediums available. You have soil, which is what I do. There's also cocoa grows, which have their own pros and cons. I don't know a whole lot about cocoa growing, but it's something that I want to learn in the future. Kind of like why I made this list. It's kind of for myself, to be honest. Like, where are my cannabis growing notes the weakest? Where are the weakest areas that I can improve on? You also have like hydroponic systems and aeroponic systems, which are, in my opinion, more advanced and probably not needed for a small home grow operation, though they do look super fun. Next is lighting. So you have LED lights, HPS lights, CFL lights. You also have different light cycles for, different stages of cannabis life, especially when you're talking about photo period versus autoflower. They have different light schedules, or at least autoflowers have a more flexible light schedule. And then also light intensity is something. I know I know there's like an app that a lot of people use on their phone to like check the lighting in their tent, but can your phones really do that? Is your phone camera really equipped to handle that, or is it just like some sort of algorithm a guy wrote? I mean, obviously it's an algorithm someone wrote because it's an app, but you know what I mean? Like, is it just giving the best guess? I don't know anything about it. Honestly, when it comes to lighting, I'm just doing 10 at the top right now because it's very simple. I don't raise or lower my lights at all. I don't check the intensity. It's all stuff I probably should be doing, if I'm being honest with you. But it's just, there's so many variables when it comes to growing cannabis that for my first few grows, I'm just trying to lock in as many variables as possible so I can play around with the more dynamic variables. So I'll get there at some point, but something I need to learn about more as well. The next thing is nutrients and fertilizers. You have your NPK ratios, all the different nutrients that plants need. You also have the whole organic versus synthetic, which is something that I've been experimenting with as you've been listening. There's literally so many different nutrient companies out there, and it can be overwhelming, but just doing your research and like picking a type of nutrient or nutrient system that works for you. I heard really great advice from someone, I can't remember who it is, but they said like try not to mix too many products together. Like if one company is making their own base newt, veg newt, and bloom newt, they're probably all like meant to synchronize together. Or if you're buying like veg from one company and bloom from another company, you're going up against two different feeding schedules based on, the contents of the newts and what the company says is the best regimen. So especially when you're starting out, I would suggest just like picking one company and just running their products and then experimenting as you go along. I have two different sets of newts right now, but I really only grow stuff from, I've only ever bought Fox Farm or Build the Soil at this point. I haven't really ventured out too much. I do got a little bag of grow dots. I really want to try them just because they seem funny. They're funny to me. I heard that when you use grow dots, a lot of it is like your plants tend to like fizzle out once bloom starts. I have this idea. I'm going to try it probably in a future run where I do grow dots and then just build a flower and like skip the craft blend and see like what happens. But I'm on a tangent. So the next we kind of talked about last episode is environmental control. If you want like my full my full spiel on that, you can listen to the previous episode. But yeah, making sure that you know the different ways and the different methods to fine tune, your humidity, your light, your temperature, your air movement. The next is watering techniques. There's like watering a plant seems so simple, but there are so many different ways to water your plants. So I've seen people just spray them with a hose, I guess. That's probably what the average person does in the regular garden, right? Sprays it with the hose. But you can also, just pour your water on. You can use a chemical sprayer, which is what I use. You can use a spray bottle. Spray bottles are typically used like during seedling stage. I wouldn't recommend like running 4 spray bottles to get a gallon into a flowering plant. That's just it's a little too inefficient for me. I've also seen people where they like poke holes in the bottom of a jug or a cup and then pour water into the jug and let it like rain out the bottom. You also have to worry about, pH, overwatering, underwatering, how often you're watering to get like, dry back periods. You also have, like I said, how I use photosynthesis plus, like whatever water additives that you want to use. There's a lot that goes into it for it being such a seemingly simple topic. Number 7 is pruning and training. We'll do an episode on this later, but there's high stress training and low stress training. High stress training usually involves like damaging or cutting the plant in some way to have it grow back. Low stress training typically involves bending the plant, so you're not actually doing real damage, but you're pushing the plant in a direction that you want it to go, usually to get more surface area for your light. Then you also have people who use trellises, or there's scrogging, where you let the colas come through a trellis to keep the canopy even. There's a lot of different ways to train cannabis plants. So far, I've only done no training, tie down LST, and LST clips. I have a trellis net, but like, I don't know, like only growing 2 plants at a time, I'm like, is it even worth trying to do scrogging? Or like the LST clips seem to work fine. I can tie down the branches when I need to. So I'm sure I'll experiment more in the future when it comes to training, but I seem to be like, I got my feet wet and it feels good. Water feels nice. So I'm just going to keep rocking this for a while. The next is pest and disease management. So obviously bugs, insects, mold, fungus, they like eating plants too. You want to do your best to not have pests and mold living on your plants, eating your plants, taking nutrients away from your plants. There are also beneficial insects that you can have in your plants that'll either eat other pests or support your plant in some way. I haven't even begun to look into that yet, but I think it's a cool concept. Just having like a bunch of cool bugs on your plants. That'd be pretty cool. I open up my tent now and I'm like, hey ladies, I have 2 ladies in there, like, what's up? But if I'm like, oh, I got a whole family in here, like, what up everybody? Like, Jerry, I know what's up. Irving, I see you over there eating some flies. I don't know. It just seems cool. So the next 3 on my list all kind of go together, and that is everything that happens after you're done growing the plant. So you have harvesting, drying, and curing. There are multiple methods for all 3 of these. Some people will cut the whole plant down. Some will cut off the branches and hang them up with, like clothespins. Some people use drying machines, which I also want to do an episode on that because it's a pretty hot topic in the cannabis community on the efficacy of drying machines. And then you also have different ways to cure, like whether you have growth bags or jars, what type of humidity readers you have, how you control the humidity within the jars while they're curing. There's a lot that goes into it. It's like growing the plant is really half the battle because all you're doing is generating the buds. And then the second half is really where the buds like come into their true smokable form. And the last one I have is I just wrote equipment, which kind of, everything else on the list has its own associated equipment with it. I guess I wanted to talk about how equipment in general, like you want to have like a very harmonious relationship with all of your growing gear. And that is, that's all the way up at your exhaust system and your ducting, all the way down to the tweezers you use to pull off helmet heads. You want to make sure everything flows together correctly. You never want to be at a point where you're like looking for something. Like keep your stuff organized. Personally, what I do is I went to the dollar store and I bought a bunch of plastic bins, and then I have one that has tools in it, one that has newts in it, so on and so forth. I also had an extra desk in my house, and I put the desk in between my tents, and then I used the drawers and the cabinets to store like soil, my bags, and everything. But yeah, just making sure that your equipment is up and running correctly and everything flows together nicely. It gives you a much better gardening experience when you're not constantly worried about one specific thing going wrong. And when you need to do your gardening, you know where everything is and you have everything, right at your disposal. So the last thing you want to do is be frustrated running around while you're gardening. It's supposed to be a fun activity. So that's my list of all different areas of learning that you can delve into as a cannabis grower. And you have some people that excel at one thing, like, oh, I'm a basic cannabis grower, but I'm really good at LST, or I'm a breeder, or I'm really good at germination. Like I can germinate 8 different ways, kind of thing. But in general, the more you know about any of these single topics, the better your grow will be. And I know it's overwhelming because it's a lot of information. And like I said, you can spend the rest of your life just learning one of these things. But I kind of wanted to set it up in a way where it was organized, even for my own brain. Because I feel like when I'm thinking about cannabis growing, sometimes my head just gets pulled in like 20 different directions. And I wanted to make this list to kind of have a way to sort it all out, just even when I'm thinking about it, not necessarily taking notes or watching videos or anything. So yeah, hopefully this helps you too. I'll put the list up on the website so you can go, print it or download it if you want. Yeah, we can just keep rocking. We'll learn about something new every week and we'll just slowly pick away at this. I want this to kind of be like the syllabus. But yeah, before we get on to what I've been into this week, I did want to say one more thing, and that is I'm doing a podcast about how to grow cannabis. And when you listen to how my grow room is going, like I'm always seeing a lot of problems. It's 100% because I'm new at this. And in general, and it's something that kind of disappoints me about a lot of people that I meet, is that the fear of sucking at something is like burdensome for people. It makes me feel really bad because you'll never get good at anything if you don't go for it. And part of going for it is failing until you get it right. I know that comes off as almost like an empty platitude, but it's very true. When I come on the podcast and I tell you, oh, I had to kill a plant today, like I did a few episodes ago, or 2 of my plants are stunted mid-flower, like I told you today, I don't feel bad about myself for the stuff happening because I know that it's like part of the journey. I don't know. It's just something I wish more people understood about themselves because I see people, especially like I have a past in indie comic books and indie music scenes and all this other stuff. And I just see people that are so petrified to fail that they like never get started. And it really sucks because they are hyper creative or just a really good person that deserves to have some sort of craft or hobby or career take off for them, and they just never get the ball rolling. So I just want to tell you, it's not even about growing cannabis. If you're growing cannabis and you're new and you suck at it, keep going. If you're learning guitar, if you are doing anything, just keep fucking doing it. That's all you got to do. Who cares about failing? Who cares about what other people have to say? Just as long as you are putting in the time and the effort and the knowledge to continue progressing, then you're successful. That's all it is. So yeah, not to get sappy or anything, and I gotta tell you about this new video game coming out, but we got one more ad read, so let's go. Attention, budding botanists and herbal wizards. Have you ever looked at your plants and thought, they could use a little something extra? Well, say hello to the gardening game changer, Mutant Newts, the nutrient solution that'll have your plants flexing like they just fought off Juggernaut. Mutant Newts are packed with all the vitamins and minerals your plants need to reach their full potential. We're talking punching branches, kicking roots, and kapowing your way into flower. The only thing getting locked up here is the next supervillain. But that's not all. If you order now, we'll throw in our own photosynthetic steroids for free. Your plants will be so ripped, they'll be the envy of the city. Your neighbors will say, "What's your secret?" You can just wink and say, "It's the Mutant Newts, baby girl." Upgrade your plant game with Mutant Newts and watch your garden transform into a botanical monster. Head over to nerdgrows.com/mutant to get started. That's nerdgrows.com/mutant. Alright, so to follow up on last episode, I finished Money Heist, and yeah, it's a banger. I'm excited for the new show. I just found out that they're coming out with their own spin-off show for just Berlin, which I think is going to be awesome. I think it comes out next week or the week after. But yeah, I'm hooked. I started watching the Korean remake, and I typically love South Korean stuff, but the way they did Tokyo as like a K-pop fangirl was kind of off-putting. And that's not really spoiling anything. That's literally like the first 30 seconds of the first episode. But I might stick with it. It should be cool. So what I'm really excited about this week is that a new Five Nights at Freddy's game is coming out. And I am a huge fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. If you don't know what it is, it's a video game series about like a haunted Chuck E. Cheese where the robot band is haunted by the ghosts of kids that were killed by the owner. What makes this game series really cool is that there isn't like narrative or linear storytelling. You literally just have to pick up clues and pieces from each game and kind of put it together in your head. Also, the creator of the game will put out like teaser images where if you like brighten them or manipulate them in a certain way, they'll give you a few extra clues. He'll hide clues in the coding of his website, and it's just all like this really intricate like sci-fi horror ghost story is like told through like all these little bits and pieces that you have to put together. And if you're the kind of person that really likes when something has deep and intricate lore to it, or if you like watching a movie and then going online and discussing it with people, this is like the perfect game series. If you go online, it's just people nonstop, arguing and debating about, oh, this piece fit here. Does that mean that, this dead kid is this guy's father, or is this father, the father of the dead kid or whatever? But yeah, it's really cool. So this week, the next game in the series is coming out, and it's called Help Wanted 2. And without getting into the whole like crazy Five Nights at Freddy's story, the basic gist is that you are an employee at the company. And at this point in the future, the company is like very high tech. It's not like a 90s or 80s Chuck E. Cheese anymore. It's literally like a high tech, almost like a mall. It's called like the Pizzaplex. And everything is robotic and AI generated and everything, or AI controlled. In the new game, you play a bunch of mini games as an employee of the company. And based on the trailer, it kind of almost looks like you're training the AI of the restaurant to do certain things. It's a big plot point in the newer games. Like the older games was more like horror Chuck E. Cheese, ghost kids kind of thing. And then now, because the creator's so into sci-fi, it's gotten more like they're dead robot kids and AI taking over the restaurant. There's all this crazy stuff going on. But it's really cool. I'm really excited for that game. I actually might buy it. I typically don't purchase Five Nights at Freddy's games. I usually wait for them to come out, and then I watch YouTubers or I talk to people on Reddit because I really care about the story more than the gameplay. However, Help Wanted and Help Wanted 2 that's coming out, they are almost like jumping in points for the series. At least Help Wanted 1 was like this. I don't know if Help Wanted 2 is going to be like this, but Help Wanted 1 was like the, I think, 7th game in the series. It had mini games from the 6 previous games in it, or it had mini games from the first 4 games in it. So it was a good like jumping in point where you can kind of get caught up, brought up to speed. And also having it be in like mini game format is really appealing to me because I have a 3-year-old, so I can never play video games for more than like 6 minutes at a time. So yeah, I might grab it. It looks really cool and I'm really excited for it. But yeah, I'll let you know next week if I ended up buying it or if I just watched YouTube or what's going on with it. I'll give you a little catch up before we talk about whatever I'm into next week with my obsessive ass. All right, but it's been fun. I hope you guys have fun this episode. This is probably my favorite episode I've done so far. So hope you guys enjoy it. All right, until next week, peace, y'all.